This is probably the most famous passage in the book of Acts, the conversion of Saul, who will soon become Paul, and will become one of the figures most significantly animated by the movement of the Spirit throughout the rest of the book of Acts. But instead of giving attention to Saul in this passage, as we usually do, I want to point out two other voices in this passage, in particular things that are said that I think are important for us to reflect on. The first is the voice of Jesus, whose voice doesn't show up very much in the book of Acts, really. But here, when Jesus appears to Saul on the Damascus road, the question he asks Saul is, "Why do you persecute me?" I think it's helpful to think about that question on the lips of so many others in our world today. We could think about that question, "Why do you persecute me? Why do you harm me? Why do you wish me violence?" On the lips of a multitude in our own world. Immigrants crossing the border without documentation, put in cages in the U.S., dying in cages on our own border. Why do you harm me? Why do you persecute me? Why do you wish me harm? So I want to suggest to you that you might use this passage as a way of reflecting on the myriad people in our own world whose voices could very well form that same question directed at us individually, us as complicit in our own government's persecution of others in the world. "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" he asked. "Who are you, Lord?" The other person in this text that I think is interesting for us to reflect on a bit is Ananias, the one the Spirit called to meet Saul and to perform an act of conversion and healing of Saul. And when Ananias got this vision that said to go to Saul and to lay hands on him, Ananias said, "Lord, I have heard from many about that man." And he wasn't wrong. Saul was a killer. Saul was a murderer. Saul killed others in a sense of righteousness. Saul had official approval to kill others. So Ananias certainly had reason to be concerned about what he had heard. But this is a really good way of helping you to begin to pay attention to what's going to happen throughout the book of Acts, and that is the Spirit calling people into ministry with those that they would normally never go into a relationship of ministry or care with on their own. "Lord, I have heard from many about this man," a statement of hesitation about the call being issued. But Ananias is called to where he would not normally seek to go, and he ministers to Saul. And this is the end of Ananias's activity in the book of Acts. But it's a really poignant moment of call for him. And I hope it's one that will help you reflect on those to whom you are called to relationship, those you are called to minister to and with and alongside, that in your normal daily life you would never have considered as partners in the spread of the good news, but those to whom you are also called to lay hands upon, to touch, even though you have heard many things about them that would cause you to hesitate.